So just tell me what's been going on.
Well, like the big picture is that Bankless is getting a lot of shit thrown at them for giving Tim Ferriss this extra voice, as if he needed it. Like this extra voice on this NFT platform he's launching.
Yeah.
Like how I feel personally is like I don't care what he launches. Like you can either buy it or not. Fine, let him launch. I think one of our Discord users, Marty.
But people are upset that he's getting the crypto platform. Is that correct?
I think that's probably the crux of the anger.
Yes.
But Marty,
and that he's not a crypto native necessarily, or even guy.
Totally.
I mean, that was the first question in the interview. Tim, are you a crypto guy?
But it's not like he was. I mean, he's held coins for a lot longer than some of us have.
He didn't want to say I'm a crypto guy. I think to protect the fact that like I'm not as smart as
he's not
people who are crypto
he's not
people.
like a
Yes.
protocol creator.
But he's in the space.
For sure.
He's doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like where I landed on this project looks stupid, but like you can take the other side of that as well. That's the beauty of NFTs. Like you can buy it if you want, right? If you like it, go buy it. That's cool. It's like an open protocol. Like that's the platform.
Yeah, but if you just reflect back on like now we're specifically looking at like who has Bankless given a platform to? First of all, a couple fucktards called Alfalfa. But beyond that, a quad of fucktards called Alfalfa. But beyond that, I think what people really care about is like the integrity behind the opportunity to be on, right? And so it's like if you're there to shill, people don't like that. And I think that ultimately what people felt like, based on the comments that I read, is that it was one giant long advertisement for his NFT launch with a tease for the launch itself, meant to create hype and demand from a new audience, which is Bankless, beyond the existing audience that he already had, as you said. And that's where I think people are upset.
Yeah, and I think
is that fair?
I think that's fair. I think that's a good description. I think it's also fair that people are like against it. Like be against it, just don't buy it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like there's worse shills and worse like participants in the space beyond Tim Ferriss.
Big
yeah,
time.
and I mean, like, there's probably a quadrant of like shill factor and also how much of a money grab this is. And he may have been shilling, which was what a lot of people would do. That's why they want to go on Bankless to like reach
shilling
the project. I know, crazy, but like he made the point. Whenever he's done something, whether it's writing books or doing a podcast for 500 episodes or writing a bunch of blog posts, like usually his creative endeavors usually have some longevity behind them. So it's not like he's going to be in and out of this thing, is from what I got. I mean, personally, I shut it off about halfway through the second half, the NFT conversation, because I was interested in what Tim just generally thought about crypto and what his conversation about that.
Yeah, I wanted to know what is your take on crypto at large? Like, are you a buyer of this industry?
He's had Vitalik on to Tim.
Naval, Vitalik.
He's not Bankless.
Right.
And he said, I lost a ton of crypto on FTX.
Okay, yeah. I think just to play devil's advocate here, Discord user Marty McFly was posting a different interview from a different podcast, Ryan Carson's podcast, where Tim, I think he I didn't listen to it, but I think he explicitly said, if this is no longer fun for me, I'll just quit.
He also mentioned that in the Bankless one. He did say that.
Okay, which I think is fair game. Like, it's your project.
Right.
So does that upset people because, just reading a little between the lines, because it feels like it could be ultimately a rug?
Perhaps, but I mean, that's a risk for any NFT project, right?
It is, but I think when someone comes out and explicitly says that, that's pretty...
Well, Tim's got a lot going on.
But then you just put that in your own matrix of like, should I play with this thing or not?
I think that's the whole reason he doesn't want to promise anything, right?
Yeah, I think that's his version of
he compared it
under promising.
He compared it to buying Disneyland tickets for your family, like in terms of like entertainment value. If I can provide you entertainment value, which I thought was a smart framing.
But this is the classic Tim Ferriss. Look, I think most of us have been following Tim Ferriss for over a decade. I've been following him since 4 Hour Workweek. Everything the guy has ever done, he calls an experiment, and I like that, because what he's doing is he's creating a no. What's the word I'm looking for? Commitment environment on both sides. He's saying, and he also utilizes what I always call the takeaway sale. Take it or leave it. You don't have to buy this. And he makes that very explicit too. When he started his podcast, which now has almost 1 billion downloads, he said, this is an experiment. I'll do a few episodes, see what you guys think. Based on your response and based on how much I'm enjoying it, I'll keep going. We look back now, he's done like whatever it is, 700, 800 episodes and 900 million downloads. He is, as Nick said, a guy that follows through. But I think he likes to have the optionality of like, I'm going to quit this if it sucks. And I think that's fair.
I think it's fair.
What I have to say that I was critical, though, about the interview, about the way Tim showed up. Not about the NFT, though. Not about the project.
You're looking at the man.
Yeah, I was just a little bit critical about... I am critical from the sense of like, if somebody was your friend and you felt like you knew them and you knew their like best version, and then you introduced them to somebody and they kind of showed this like side of themselves that you're like, that's not you, bro. That's how I felt.
Why did you feel like that? Because it's weird because I heard that from you and I was primed to think something when I listened to it, which normally means I like accidentally think the same.
Yeah.
Even more so.
Or maybe you accidentally went the opposite.
Or maybe he's just a contrarian.
No. I'm not a primed contrarian. No. I think in this instance, like I actually kind of believed that he would do that. So I think I believed what you said, and so I was inclined to believe myself in a particular way when I listened to it. But I don't know. He didn't come across that way.
I guess I've just consumed a lot of his content, and based on the baseline,
is there something specific you thought he did that made you go?
Yeah, I felt that he came off unsure and insecure, and he felt the need to sell himself and the project more than necessary.
I felt like he was like underselling the project.
He was underselling it, but then overselling it at times. It was this
they
weird
were like,
dichotomy.
they were like, you realize you're overselling it by how much you're underselling it.
Yeah.
Like it was.
But then he had moments where he was overselling himself, and it's not necessary. I feel like the reason he was overselling himself is because he felt he was speaking to a new audience that didn't know him. And he has his audience of millions of fans that have known him for over a decade and who follow his podcast, but people in the crypto space don't really know him. So I think he felt the need to like over qualify himself. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the same thing. Like he was very clear on how many blog posts he had published and all that.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe it did some good.
I didn't think it was
maybe
that
not.
big of a deal. I also feel
wasn't
like this
bad.
this probably isn't even the most interesting part of it to me. Like I kind of want to focus on like the Marty discussion in the in the lounge, because I think there's some points
We're talking about in our Discord.
Yeah, in our Discord and in the lounge there. Like there are a couple of things like he brought up. If it's not fun, I will stop. I will blacklist fudders. It's supposed to be fun for me.
Really?
Do you guys have a problem with like if it's not fun, I'll stop? Because like I personally didn't, right? It's not like he's out there. Like you can make this argument that, he's implicitly trying to make money because he's Tim Ferriss, and of course people will buy it, blah, 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 blah. But he's, on the other hand, pretty explicitly like, this is an experiment for me, much like a bunch of other experiments I'm doing. Like I'm just doing it to enjoy this. If it's not cool, please don't buy it. And this is entertainment.
Right. And like if you were evaluating it from investment, you'd be rubbed the wrong way. You'd be like, well, I'm investing in you, dude. Why would you ever quit? Like, how would you even acknowledge it?
That's
You
a
quit.
good point. Yeah.
But if you're evaluating from entertainment, you're like, well, cool. Then if you stop, then the service is over that I paid for the entertainment, and the ride stops.
That's
what
how
he's trying to communicate, but people feel they are owed something because they made a transaction.
Yeah, like I think the whole NFT community is prime. Like I think there's somewhat of a, like there's this like, Tim is so entitled basically in this comment. But I kind of feel like the NFT space is entitled. There's a bunch of people who just think that they're like sort of entitled to make money. These things are financial instruments. They're supposed to be X, Y, Z things because that's what I want them. They don't have to be anything. They could be pure entertainment. Like we just turn them into financialized instruments, like collectively as a community, because we played like a year of this like hot potato Ponzi game. But I don't think that's necessarily like
you vote with your
everything has to
patronage.
be
Like you
viewed.
buy it or you don't. Like I think that's fine. I actually zoomed out on that whole thing. I looked at it from this other perspective. It was like, why does a guy like Tim get all this fucking vitriol when there's like worse scammers in the industry who are like getting follows still and like getting their NFTs purchased? And then I zoomed out even further to think about like our situation. It's like a guy like Donald Trump can get away with saying anything because you expect crazy shit out of his mouth. But if like, like Tim Cook, like CEO of Apple, says something off a little bit outside the Overton window, everyone's like, whoa,
right.
you know, it's like, and the way we present ourselves is like these rational, logical thinkers. If we say anything like outside the bounds, we're probably going to get a bunch of shit for it. Like it's like Tim Ferriss is this like serious guy. So he he has to be serious. Like he can't have Cockpunch. Like that's what I was thinking.
Interesting point. I like that.
I think that's like somebody brought this up on Twitter the other day. I can't remember who it was, but they mentioned like it's so weird that there's this socialist sort of undertone or something that runs throughout crypto, where like people don't seem to want people to profit at doing anything. Like even devs in certain instances, there's like an inversion to this. And I saw actually that somebody had a really good discussion with Vitalik himself, came in and was starting to, he was kind of like talking on the side of like, yeah, well, we shouldn't be profiting. And then somebody was like, easy for you to say, $1 billion in coins. And it was an interesting thing, but that sort of runs through this as well, where it's like, it's maybe not so much that somebody isn't entitled to profit, because I think like the NFT community is a little more open to that. But I think they view Tim as like an outsider. Like he doesn't deserve to.
That's
like,
the crux
That's
of
a
it.
big part.
That's the crux, I think.
Which I think is silly. Like that, like to like totally left curve this thing. Like you want to make money in crypto, get more people into crypto. Like you want Tim Ferriss to be in crypto. You want Disney to be in crypto. Like Disney is not going to share all your freaking crypto values, right? But if they onboard like 600 million people on the Polygon because they launched like an NFT product, like that's good. Just be happy with that. Everything in crypto doesn't have to be the same. Everything doesn't have to be like Bitcoin or like Ethereum. Like, and like, I think he's being pretty transparent, unless you're getting all meta with it and being like, no, that's not what he means, the exact words he said.
Yeah.
But he's pushing against what has been the standard practice and understanding of the NFT community. That's the challenge.
What is that, though?
People have expectations. You can't just walk in and say no roadmap, no promises, and I will leave
But that's
if you guys
bullshit,
FUD me.
because you know as well as I do that 99 out of
Let me
100 of those
rephrase what I'm
things
saying.
are
You
like.
can come in and say that, but you're going to be pushing against what people expect, and then they're going to get upset.
But those
That's
people
what
are
I'm trying to
selling lies. At least Tim's being honest. Like
I
all
agree.
the people are like
Yeah.
roadmap.
Oh, I
It's
like
just-
it.
it's
I like
stupid.
it. I agree. I just think he's working against a huge amount of expectations and energy.
I could sum this up to like just growing pains of a community getting larger. Like they say when companies go from like 10 to 50 to like 500 employees, like the culture changes, right? The impact of one person changes on the culture. And so as the community grows from, you know, early adopters to like early majority, we're going to have these growing pains where, like you said, the people entering are not going to have the same values, and there's going to be this debate.
You know what
but
this is
it's
kind of
natural.
analogous to me? Like, imagine it's the 80s and you're like Ray Kurzweil, and you just invented the synthesizer. And I don't know if Ray plays the synthesizer, right? Maybe he does. Maybe he's a pianist. But imagine like we're in this techie community with Ray, and like he invented the synth, and we're like, oh, that's so cool. And we're all like tech people, but none of us really know how to play music. And we're like experimenting around, playing with Ray Kurzweil's synth, and there's a growing community. Maybe we're figuring out a way to monetize it. But all our music sucks because we don't know how to do anything. We don't know how to execute anything. We're not musicians. And then some like DJ rolls in, and he's like, whoa, like Daft Punk rolls in for some reason. It's like that time we're just mishmashing timelines, but they roll in. They're like, wow, I could create some sick music with this. And they're like, get the fuck out, Daft Punk. We're not using our technology. You're not in the. That's what it feels like to me. It seems obvious to me that NFTs are going to make this leap to like influencers and people who can do like intellectual property and all this stuff that most of the NFT community is just like upstarts who have like no experience starting businesses, no communities. Like it seems very obvious that that's the case.
Yeah.
But we're like fighting that in a way.
It reminds me of something that was the other half of where I felt the presentation was off, which is that I personally think it would have been a much more effective promotion and episode and everything that he's doing to hype up this launch if the focus was not on the art and the love for crypto or any of that. The thing that just keeps getting left in the background is that all the money is going to psychedelic research, a foundation that he started 100%, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know if there's fine print there. There might be fine print of like what that 100% constitutes, but that's the plan. 100% of the proceeds.
Is this Maps?
No,
that is?
to his
Or
own
his own-
foundation. He has supported Maps in the past, and he's been a huge philanthropist in this area before, and he's a big part of what made the John Hopkins study possible, and so many other things. That's the coolest part about this whole thing is like, hey, why don't you just admit? If you guys heard him talk to Kevin Rose, he had Kevin Rose on his show to interview him to talk about the NFT. And Kevin Rose was trying to allude to the audience, like, because Tim is so secretive about everything and he tries to be perfect in what he presents, he's like, dude, just admit that you reached out to me one day and you were like, it'd be really funny to do some bullshit NFT, like in the middle of the bull market. And Tim didn't want to admit that. He was like, yeah, he kind of tried to skirt around it. He's like, no, I've been working on this so hard and so long. Because the reality is, once he works on something, he wants to do a great job. But when he first reached out and thought, well, just like everyone else that we all know, he was like, NFTs are blowing up. I want to do one too. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to create some stupid Cockpunch thing, and it evolved into something more meaningful where he said, okay, I'm going to make the money go to a foundation, and I'm going to set up a foundation. I'm going to do all but that's the best marketing.
Yeah.
He should have led with that, in my opinion,
Good
because
call.
then people would be like, okay, fuck you, you're a crypto guy or not. I don't care. I want to support this good cause in general because so many people have rugged on the good causes. He's somebody that you can trust. He has a track record for doing it. So you could be like, I know my dollars will go toward this cause. That's why I want to be involved, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
that's
that
my
would have been a
personal
much better
reason.
pitch, honestly.
That would have sit a little nicer.
I think that's where it's sitting wrong with a lot of people. Was there anything else that was brought up, Stephen, in terms of like
Those were
points
the
or
main
criticisms?
two sort of talking points. Like he really just watch me make shit up as I go. But like the being offended that there's you can't make shit up as you go is like the mindset of like, I just invested in a company. I just invested in a security. I just invested in that's not the mindset. The mindset of NFTs should be like you buying some musicians like music. Like, would you be mad at them? Like you bought their seat and then they're just like, I'm just making it up as I go. I don't know if I'm going to release another album. You'd be like, what the hell? No, because it's just entertainment to you. Like we don't think of buying like CDs or we don't buy CDs anymore, but buying. What,
if you didn't make money,
what do we
off
buy
it-
now? I get all my music for free, but you don't think of like supporting artists and you don't think it is something that you invest in that you demand a return from.
Right.
And that's the shift we need to make away from NFT. I think in the next bull run, it's gonna be a lot. Everything right now is at best it's like art, but people when they collect rare art like are doing it for financial reasons, right? But
of course.
but we're not doing that when we support musicians or we support like YouTubers on Patreon. We give plenty of people money because we just want to see what they create and we like being a part of the community. I think NFTs have a really good role to play in that. People, I think creators like the Mr. Beasts of the world are going to figure out interesting things to do with NFTs, and Tim Ferriss fits into that thing. You're not owed a return from him, and if he says I want to do this and you don't view it as an investment, then you can't get mad that he's doing it. I'm sorry, you just can't.
I also think the timing is just super off.
Yeah.
It's the worst possible time to do this.
No, it's the best possible time to do this because it's like the bottom of NFTs and everybody hates them. There's no froth at all. I think the worst time for him to do it would be to do it like in the middle of the last bull run where he could probably launch and gotten 15 ETH floor, because then he has this like worst of what do you do? Either you sell at the market price, which is probably 15 ETH, and then people get wrecked and they hate you, or you price it at 0.2 ETH and then everybody mercilessly bots your launch.
I think
and then
you're
flips it.
right. That wasn't part of his messaging at all. Like,
Yeah, I don't think that was part of his messaging. I was just saying
Like-
that I don't think the timing is.
but it
Yeah,
could
I
have
don't think
been.
that's
It could have been his messaging to say like, hey, look, I'm not doing this as a cash grab. I'm doing it in the bottom of the market where I'm not going to moon. Like everything's
I don't think he's even thinking of that.
Right.
Which is
And
good.
he doesn't need an additional audience. He has millions of people already. He could sell 5,000 NFTs. Are you kidding me?
We want his audience.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Get a billion downloads.
Yeah.
We want these people in crypto.
Yeah.
Like, please bring them in. As long as they're bringing them in a sustainable way. They're not bringing them in like Ty Lopez style to just shear them like sheep. Or like, he doesn't even shear a sheep. He just
So
stabs
like
them.
we've never seen Hoffman flinch really. Like I've only seen it 2 times. Once was when the Frog Army was coming after him, like the Danny Cestas of the world was like coming after him.
That aged well.
And Hoffman won that one. Now he's like getting a ton of heat for this. Like he came onto our Discord asking like, do you guys actually find this offensive? Like Hoffman's flinching a little bit.
I got to see all this. I haven't caught up.
That wasn't exactly related to the Tim thing, but I think like it got caught up in that as well because there is like a bit of a anti-bankless kind of thing on.
which is gonna happen. Like,
On
Of course
what?
it happens.
Once
If
you
you
get
grow
big
to
enough,
if you grow huge, right? Like it's very easy to put out a pod where you have like 500 downloads and everybody's the same. They want the same thing and they're like literally in it for the tech. But then you get like 200 million people listening to your audience. Like they don't all care about like roll-ups. What do? You create content that serves them and try to balance that, which I assume is like a very difficult act. Or you just say like, no, thank you, go somewhere else. I'm just going to stay with like 500 listeners. It's I don't know. I don't know how I would handle it, but I assume it's a difficult problem.
I feel like the criticisms fell on deaf ears for me. It's like, you know, you have people who have a podcast and he mentioned like we do stuff that aligns with our values and that helps grow the business. And to me, that makes a whole lot of sense. Like all the other criticisms, like, well, then go somewhere else. Like don't listen to it.
Any form of criticism about stuff like that, I think, is lame. It's very similar to like when you first discover a music artist, you love the first album. Second album comes out, it's going to be an evolution. It's going to be different. They don't want to create the same shit forever. So you have to evolve. And if people want to evolve with you, great. They're on for the journey because they love you and they trust you. And if they don't, then they have the nostalgia of your first album and they move on.
Their complaints seem so silly.
What else do we have for our money?
Okay, well, we have our
What
actual topic.
I'm out of wine, and I'd like to use this as an opportunity.
Do we want to talk about like Jerome today?
Can you pronounce this,
Hold on.
Steven?
Let's talk about our wine.
Bugai.
Anyone who can
That
pronounce
sounds right.
this, we got an NFT for you. Can you pronounce that?
I don't speak Spanish.
First of all, it's French.
I'm pretty sure. No, it's definitely not that.
A lot of vowels.
I hope we don't have any French listeners.
Oh, I'm sure we do.
Well, now we don't.
I'm sure we do. So this is a bottle from Dry Farms Wine. Check them out. They're our new partner. You get a bottle for a penny when you sign up. The link is below.
I actually like the French.
When you sign up using Alfalfa code,
Yes,
you get
you
a bottle
must
for
use our link and the code Alfalfa. I think it's just the link that'll be in the description. But it's a really cool idea. We were gifted this, and we love it. It's amazing. And they're sending us more wine, guys, so that should be good. And the more that you guys buy through our link, the more they'll send us. So please do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like more wine.
I needed wine today after this morning.
Okay, so now we can move on.
Nice segue, Steven.
Yeah.
King of the segues.
So we're going to do Alfalfa round and then get into our topic?
Wow.
I mean,
that's a whole U-turn.
Yeah, I haven't done anything. I mean, I talked last week about, well, maybe I didn't because I died in the middle of the episode. Sorry, everybody. But I talked about how I had that
Techno King.
ADA BTC short on, which is a great position because like today the market ripped, but actually made money on that because BTC
ripped more.
Ripped more. And I was long going into the meeting as well, but I trimmed it at like 16.8 or something because I was like, I don't know. I feel like the upside was not there, and I thought like he might wreck us, but I was planning on rebuying again lower because I still really like the chart short term, even though I just still think we're going to like 600 ETH at some point. So I don't know. This is like the conflict in my head. But yeah, I don't know. I'm waiting for all this to play out. I did put on a little short with like small size at like 12.93 or something.
So for anyone following along, Steven is long and short and long BTC and also short ETH and short ADA.
Yeah, my trading account's really confused. Well, I put these positions on, but then I hedge. So like, if you just see me tweet sporadically, it just looks like I have no idea what the hell I'm doing because I'm long and short at the same time. I swear to God,
It's like reading a
it
book
makes
and just
sense.
opening it to the page that you feel like that day.
I don't like having like a 5-year thesis and I'm just like, there we go, and then just go through the pain. I like having the 5-year thesis, but I like having like a 3 month.
You're infamous for this.
Yeah, but like a day trade on, like you can be long term.
We were talking about it the other day when we were playing golf. We're like, I think Steven's the only one who just go
Like, how can you just do
all
that?
in to like all out and then all short.
Like, nobody else I know plays it like that.
Yeah,
I can't do that.
it's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but like I was.
He's that fucking meme. He's all dark. Stressed out. Wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, I flipped from like 1.5 long with my entire net worth to like short in a span of weeks before.
I would not be alive if I did that.
I don't do that anymore. I implemented like a risk maximum
that'd give me a
drawdown
heart attack.
strategy. So
Well, Jerome pumped my long stock bags, but he destroyed my hedgy portfolio. My hedgy portfolio is gone with the wind today. I added some puts on Monday and this morning.
And it's gone.
And it's gone. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but I guess it's doing its job, even though the money went away? Like,
Because your long bag is the big
yeah,
number.
it just feels weird to watch the one that I'm actually playing with every day go down, even in the one that I don't touch at all, that someone else touches, is going up.
But that's the point.
Yeah, I guess it's a point. It's just
there
not.
for.
It's not
It's
fun.
psychological hedge.
Yeah, it's like.
too.
Yeah, I guess.
We talked about this on one of our calls, like how you can actually like trick your brain by taking like a really tiny position in like the opposite direction, and
Yeah,
even
just
when
like-
you're getting wrecked, like you're up like $37 on this long, and you're like, yeah, I feel great right now. It's like human psychology is a funny thing.
Well, feel free to judge me, but I signed up for the fucking Cockpunch whitelist lottery.
Nice.
Oh,
Like,
it'll probably do well. Like,
No judgment here.
I think there will be like a 4% chance of getting it. There's gonna be so many people submitted. So
I wanna
we'll
sign
see.
up for the Cockpunch
I think
lottery.
that
How do I
the
do that?
mint. I think it passed. The mint is there's not much of an alfalfa. It's more of a cockpunch tease.
Yeah, hindsight round.
I think the mint is next week, so we'll see if I get it.
Odds there's issues with the mint.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Odds.
Above 50%?
Well, I don't think there are issues anymore these days if executed correctly and you use the pre-launch software, whatever that's called,
Pre-mint or-
pre-mint.
yeah.
Yeah, because that essentially creates a window for minting. I mean, there could be issues with the contract. There could be issues with the
Been a
minting
while since I
itself.
minted something, boys. I don't
I
remember.
know.
damn, what does that feel like?
But I don't think there will be like an issue with the
Yeah.
with overwhelming demand or anything like that because it's just going to be an allow list, right?
Yeah, I
It's
guess
gonna
so.
be a whitelist.
We'll see.
So
Yeah, I've been in wait and see mode. You know, the volatility's been so low. I was like waiting for some big move in either direction. And you know, we have like you mentioned on our Thanksgiving episode that like we have so many things coming out soon. We have like CPI, we have JPOW talking, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like this big move. I'm not even ready to jump in yet. Like I want to be short on the net basis because like you know, guys like Hal Press are out there just like calling that everyone is stupid because he bought the bottom at 1100 or whatever. He's like he's the fucking king.
Hal called capitulation bottom today, 7 days after he.
Oh yeah, so he
tweeted
knows
about it.
the bottom is in for ETH of all
you,
time.
Love you, Hal.
Yeah, like
just
this
playing.
guy just he like irks me so bad that like I want to counter trade Hal. Like it's not even about the dollars anymore. It's about Hal.
It's not that. It's not enough for me to win. Hal must also lose.
I don't even know the guy, but like he's one of the few where I read the tweet and I go, hard disagree. In my
Yeah,
mind.
yeah,
Like
dude.
everyone else, I'm like, he's got a good point.
It's
Maybe
like
he could be right. I'm like,
it's
ooh,
like the
hard
smugness
disagree.
in his tone or something. Like I don't get it either.
you love smug people.
Oh no, this thing. You know the hubris gets everyone. You know, I think that's the theme of crypto. So I want to be net short. I'm just like sidelining still. You know, obviously I have some short that just got smacked by JPOW, but you know, I've been sort of just sidelined, and I feel comfortable here.
Well, I'm curious. What did you guys think of the presser today? Just for update
Yeah.
for the audience. I mean, ETH ripped like 7% at one point today, peaked out around 1310. S&P, Nasdaq was up like 4.5%. I think like we broke 4,100 on S&P at one point. Like huge rally. But do you guys have any strong opinions on what was said?
What was said, I think like what was interesting is that like, you know, I think he fed enough info to the pivotors to like allow that narrative to still live. Like people are saying like, oh, so we're gonna stop increasing so much, so dramatically now. But he also on the other hand was like, but like we're gonna continue this game of like tightening.
I mean, one
for
of
a
his
long
comments
time.
was just straight up ridiculous. I'm trying to find it. It was like,
He said one thing
Oh.
he said. Okay, go ahead.
I don't want to over tighten, and cutting rates is not something I intend to do anytime soon.
Yeah. He also said,
Wait, I don't. Is that contradictory? I don't.
Yeah.
Wait.
he's just trying to feed the narrative a little bit,
Trying to walk a fine line.
but not lie that he's
Yeah.
going to tighten the shit out of this thing. I think I saw a Twitter response to Hal, which I loved. Thank you for just like dunking on Hal all the time in Twitter. I saw a response where you said like, Hal, it's not about rates, man. It's like it's about the QT. Like it's about net liquidity, and like Hal's not mentioning that at all. He's only focused on the rates.
Well, I mean, in that same vein, I think Ryan Selkis also called the bottom, but then he was like, outside of macro issues, we got the bottom. I'm like, well, dude, that still
Outside of
affects your
macro.
money. Like, you can't call the bottom with like this massive exception.
Outside of Luna, my buddy still got $10 million.
Yeah. It sounded like I didn't hear the Q&A, but it sounded like he kind of played the roast, but it didn't seem like there was actual change in anything. And I think next up is this the core PCE data that comes out tomorrow that doesn't have energy and food in it, and we'll see like how it moves. And I think people will try to judge that and see if things are actually, if we're seeing harder disinflation, accelerated disinflation.
I think as of now, S&P is down 15% from all-time highs, and this is like the capitulation moment. Like this can't be like
People,
the
it's just
bottom
like
right now.
people are delusional. I mean, like the fact that like people are so desperate for stuff to go up, and they're so just acclimated to just dips lasting like 3 months. They're like, we earned this new bull market. It's gone down for 11 months, and it's like, yo, zoom out on a map at some point. Like we've gone through 17 years at certain points of like this whole generation, like myself included, because I barely remember the .com bubble. I kind of remember because I was day trading with $500 at the time, which was $1 billion.
You
when I
eighth
was,
grade savage.
yeah, I lost like everything, and then I panic sold the bottom down like 80%. But I had like Microsoft, and like that would have been up. Like if I just held it through the whole thing.
Oh,
So I learned a lot of lessons.
You should have
at
seen
one
my
time.
8th grade portfolio.
say, didn't
my
you have a
my
similar-
8th grade portfolio was like Enron, MCI WorldCom, Lucent, like just fraud. I ran that portfolio up as an 8th grader to like 20K. Like I was on top of the world. I was like telling mom and dad, I'm like, I should manage your money as an 8th grader. And then just like, and it's gone.
Your point you just said is so good, right? Like we just went through the most ridiculous asset bubble, like in the history of asset bubbles. We are down less than 15% from the top, and it's been like 10 months.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, that was it. We're gonna go back up now. Like,
Well, Hal called the bottom.
Should I trust Hal or Druckenmiller? Hal.
I was like 27 years
Druckenmiller.
old.
he might be leveling us. It might just be like a really good troll, just calling capitulation bottoms 8 days after you tweet it.
Maybe a little to his point is like, I don't know the timing of this. Though, like, I you could still see a nasty bear market rally continue and go sideways before things, see like a lower low. Could be a while. I don't know. That's the part I'm unsure of. Is like timing is the fucking impossible part.
I mean, sure, anything's possible, but like, we're just bumped right up against that like nasty trend line right
Did it?
now on the. I mean,
Was that the 200-day on the S&P?
just that like big mega
Oh,
trend line?
that's
you
a
know?
good
Like,
line.
I just, even if you are bullish, like I don't think this is the spot.
All right. Tomorrow morning when I
Fix it
wake
and go
up, I'm gonna
mega
take the
long.
rest of the cash in that hedgy portfolio.
You're just gonna go balls
Yeah,
deep.
yeah. I'm gonna go short dated.
And like, let me be clear. Like, if we get a pullback to Bitcoin and I'm just saying Bitcoin's because it's the only chart I remember, just because I'm just like swing trading stuff. Like, if we get a pullback to like 16.5 or something, like I'm gonna take a long there, just because as a trader the chart looks really good. You get to take that long. It's like an easy risk reward, in my opinion. But like the Hal stuff is scary because like I think a lot of people maybe aren't. They're not trading for like 2 months or 3 months or something. They may be buying their. And they think like it's the same thing as the last cycle. We go down and then we go all the way back up again. Oh, it's over. We just go all the way back up.
V-shaped.
Yeah, like I don't know. We could go to 2K and then just go back down to 400. Like that's certainly possible. And then we could have like 2 more years of bear after.
I think if you're putting significant amounts of your money in, like you have to think more about the risk management than like, resuming bull market here.
Yeah.
I always think of this, like I say this to myself all the time. This bear market, this time right now is not the time to make money. It's the time to survive.
Right.
Like I'm going to make money in the next bull cycle. And right now I'm just trying to like slowly accumulate, don't die.
And over the next year, pick your points to get back in.
Be opportunistic.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna have like over a year to buy ETH at these prices.
Oh
Like,
my God.
I
completely
people.
agree.
I think people are they're like in COVID mode. They're like, oh, we just V and go back up, and it's just not really.
I think people
like
get
that.
scared that they don't want to lose
FOMO.
the opportunity. Yeah,
The FOMO will kick in hard. I can imagine that there's going to be several times during this entire cycle where people are going to they're going to feel like they lost their opportunity.
I did at 800, and then a lot of people again felt that 1100,000 we saw was like that opportunity again.
But after like Suzu and all that, like we touched down to the 800s. Like after that, remember we ran up to almost like 2K.
Yeah.
Like, shit, dude.
I mean, you guys remember I was sitting here.
You're like, I'm gonna go sell at
all
2K,
summer.
and
Like,
then I don't know if you sold at 2K, but you should.
I didn't. I had the
I should've
orders there
reminded
and
you.
I canceled them. Yeah, I know. I nailed that whole thing so well in theory, but I still made like a nice trade out of it. But like I'm trying to think like why, like what was different. Like I'm just trying to remember my logic for being like so bullish then, but like so bearish now, and it like kind of sort of seems exactly the same.
You think we're entering that like
It's not.
time capitulation phase where like we have
Well, if
a year
anything,
going
like I should be more
sideways?
bullish now because there has been more
time.
time.
Yeah, but there needs to be more.
To me, like the summer capitulation, like everybody's talking about how this FTX capitulation was worse. To me, the summer capitulation was worse than this.
Way worse.
Way worse. Like there was a day where like I was looking at like my trading view and they're just like all the alt layer ones, they're down like 28%. It was wild. It was just absolute bloodbath and like sort of seemingly out of nowhere too. Like, and I think that like really adds to people's like, oh my God, what's happening? Like obviously there are catalysts for it, but like when we crashed the other time, it was like, oh, FTX defrauded everybody and down. But that was like kind of like that was like a quick rip the Band-Aid off. Everything was fine. Like that, like.
Do you think, like, let me just interrupt you there for a second. Do you think that the capitulation on the contagion risk is now in the rear view? Because that would be a reason for me to be like, at least swing trade bullish. Like we've like gone past this like centralized exchange risk thing. We've like sort of like culled the herd there.
I think anyone who says they know is full of shit.
I mean, so I thought about that, and I'm like, well, why did we start this downturn in the first place? And it was, I think, because of QT. Like money got more expensive, but then, we're seeing like a big tightening of monetary policy, and you have to. I keep asking myself, well, is that going to stop?
Yeah, which
anytime
direction
soon?
is that going?
And it's still going down, I think.
Oh, it's down for a long
And
period
we're
of time.
like, obviously, I think the four of us started paying more attention to that type of data to try to get a little smarter about understanding those dynamics. And they're hard to predict, but I definitely have more information about it now than I did last year this time. And I feel a little more comfortable saying, in the risk return that it's going to continue to go down. I'd rather, assume that it's going to go down versus the other way, in that, we're going to have a hard pivot. It's going to be a pause. It's going to be a long, painful pause until everyone's going to get wrecked fundamentally, like jobs, houses, like the real things in the real economy are going to start to hurt, and then maybe a pivot.
I mean, let's just talk about it. Like we're talking about macro stuff. We're going all fancy. Like let's just this is the USDC market cap. Like stable coins are being redeemed out of crypto at like crazy rates.
So
And
that shows a
just,
peak
this
of
is just
55.
This is just down only in the stablecoin market. So within macro, liquidity conditions are dog shit, but then within crypto, liquidity conditions are also still kind of dog shit.
What about tethers? Because that's interesting. Because that one they are a little more fast and loose with their creation.
I pulled this up just for the sake of brevity, but if you do like an aggregate market cap of all stable coins in crypto, like
it looks similar.
All together, they're all down. They're all just.
It looks similar.
They're all.
Oh, yeah.
They're all down. So like I feel like that has to happen, and this is very unscientific, but to me, there's just too much optimism and froth in the market still. Like everything that is trash still looks like it wants to puke like another 50 to 60% just against Bitcoin. Never mind if Bitcoin itself pukes 50%, right? Everybody still thinks like another cycle is going to happen. Like how many people have you talked to that have said like, oh, ETH is dead?
Zero.
Dude, zero. Those conversations I think have to happen for like real bottoms to happen. Like I feel like a lot of people just haven't experienced like an actual crypto bottom. It is dark. It is
Steven,
like hopeless.
I saw your favorite threador, Jack Nywald.
Oh yeah.
He came out with like this bear market checklist. One of the checks on the checklist was apathy on crypto Twitter, and he had that checked. Like this is apathy. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, we're so tuned into this right now because of FTX and et cetera. Like we care. Like this is not apathy. It's like the opposite of apathy.
Do you
I
talk to any
disagree with
normies?
that.
Like,
I think plenty of people have called it dead. I think people in the crypto industry have called it dead. I think our friends have called it dead and
Our
gotten
friends,
emotional
maybe.
even.
Well,
that it
who do
could
you know-
be
who have you
totally
seen in
done and
crypto?
that
I'm
there's no
curious.
future. Bankless.
I don't think Bankless has called it dead. David's
They
buying
asked the
ETH like
question.
every day.
They asked the question to themselves and to their audience of like, is this it? Have we approached a point here where there's no coming back?
I will concede
that question was asked
tears
out
on the
loud.
Bankless stream.
No, that I
signal,
look at as
pretty-
like a
pretty up
separate
there.
thing. That I look at as like a separate, mutually exclusive thing. But the question was asked: is there any coming back from this? That was a very direct question and conversation.
That's a data point. That's fair.
We are talking unscientific to Steven's example.
But
Yeah,
if you,
yeah.
if you
Like,
pull up the
who's-
bubble chart, though, what you're talking about is depression. That doesn't even. That's still before this whole other phase where people just give up.
I agree with your overall point.
yeah.
Everyone needs to just be like, there's nothing to do here, and this is garbage, and it's worthless, and it's dead.
I think just to-
that is really
to
truly-
your
Feels like it's
example,
cool. I'm
like-
just saying there is.
to your
sense
example,
of that.
people are still logging in to comment on Bankless's YouTube. Like,
Sure.
I'm talking about an apathy where
Yeah,
they don't
no,
have
it-
listeners. Like,
yeah,
it's just
nothing's
like-
happening.
It's just dead,
So
dead. Like,
I agree.
I agree that people are starting to feel like there's nothing to do here, like there's scams going on. But I think what I'm waiting for is add 9 more months of nothing to do
Nothing.
here, and then add on a little higher unemployment, and then add on the fact that your house is worth 30% left. Now that's the feeling I think where you've really reached apathy.
Totally
and like,
agree with you.
I really don't even care about this now. Because one thing I was thinking about last night, I was walking the dog and I was thinking about like what happens when withdrawals on ETH happen. People can pull out their staked ETH. I'm like,
it's bullish, right?
well, I was like, well, you know, I started walking through it. I'm like, well,
Maybe.
Okay,
a lot of people
tell me
are long-term holders there, right? They knew what they were getting to. It was for an
the
unknown time. That
the
this thing-
ethos of a staker is by nature a long-term holder.
But then I was like, what happens if the withdrawals start when unemployment is 6% and people's homes prices are down? They just feel
Yeah, they're going to want cash.
they
Not-
might actually want.
Like, not
I would
everybody.
want to sell.
Not everybody doesn't need money. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
My take on that is that it's bullish because it just nukes the last stupid ETH narrative, and they just have to come up with the next progressively worse anti.
Yeah, I wasn't bringing it
narrative,
for
you
that.
know?
I was just thinking like that we need like the real apathy is, when unemployment's higher. It's been 9 months from today. There's no resolution on the FTX thing. People are just like so fed up with it. Don't
No,
even wanna
you're
talk
right.
about it.
Everybody's like, God, I'm down so bad. I'm down 80% on my portfolio. That's up 1,700% over the last like everybody's still like way up, except for a few people who got like in aggregate.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody who's participated in asset markets, like stocks, real estate, everything is still way up. It's still way up, right? So people are like, oh, this is pain. That's not pain. Like the real pain is when those people they're not even up anymore. Over years, they're down. And not just down a little bit where it's like, oh God, it starts to feel bad, but like down so much where people are like, I need to sell. Like my mom hasn't called me and asked me to sell her stocks. Like, and to me, that's like a good indicator. Like how many people do you talk to who are like, should I sell stocks? I haven't had a single person
I had
ask
one.
me if they should sell stocks.
I got a lot.
That's a good example.
I got a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you're a financial advisor. So
I got a lot of
you
people.
probably talk to more people.
I mean, I feel like on crypto Twitter, they're asking themselves the wrong question. They're like, okay, within the crypto ecosystem, is the worst over? And maybe within the crypto ecosystem, the worst may be over. Like that's their counter argument to what we're talking about now.
Right.
And that may be true. I just think it's the wrong question to ask.
Yeah.
You know, like the tide of liquidity going back out to sea is going to be a much stronger pull than like whatever's going on in our little microcosm, our microeconomics. Yeah.
So just put some data on this because we've been doing a lot of. I feel we like
Yeah.
data. Ben Cohen at Into the Cryptoverse has a lot of interesting metrics. One of them is like a social risk metric where it just kind of takes into account Twitter followers, engagement, new YouTube subs on crypto channels, all this stuff. Like that that risk chart it's still
Is
pretty
the-
high.
It's the red. The red.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's spiked on the FTX news, I imagine.
Yeah, it's still like 0.35.
That's my point. It's like that is well above the
Yeah,
long-term average.
This to me is a real indicator of like apathy. Like if there's still tons of chatter on social, if everybody's still asking about it, if everybody's still paying attention to it, it just feels hard for a bottom to form when everybody is still.
I can't see the scale
there.
on this chart, but it looks like we're probably 3 times higher than the bear market of the last cycle.
I mean, I think which is went straight to zero basically. in
Should
the previous
screenshot
two.
that, send it to Sly
Oh yeah, we should get.
for sure.
We start doing slides for these episodes.
As a quick aside, did you guys see that SBF was on
Oh,
the
did that
conference?
happen?
It was
Yeah,
today.
happened
Wait,
today.
did he
I
remote
just-
in or did he show up in?
No, he remoted
it
in.
in.
I just don't even want to know what he said. Is that bad?
Man, I will be.
That's how.
I'll give a little bit of credit to Andrew Ross Sorkin, who was the interviewer. He
Yeah.
was hitting them pretty hard.
He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't bad from what I saw.
Okay.
All right, so give us the.
The TLDR. What he kept emphasizing was that he didn't knowingly commit fraud. Like Andrew Ross Sorkin was like, "Did you commit fraud?"
Anybody could
Like
say
straight
that.
to his face, like, "I didn't knowingly commit fraud. I didn't knowingly use customer deposits." He said like there was
But that's a clear line.
there's a separation between Alameda and FTX, and I don't participate in Alameda, which I think is already
He owns like 90% of it.
and like in front of like in front of a judge and a jury. I'm imagining that he would also have to talk to Caroline and Sam Trabucco or whatever, and they would be like, "Yeah, dude, you were in every fucking office."
They didn't have a CFO and they didn't have a real deal compliance manager. So who made the money decisions?
Like, do you
If there
think,
isn't a CFO.
do you
That
think
blows my
Caroline
mind.
and Sam Trabucco are going to take the full
DAO.
fall for this?
The
Like,
ETH
no
DAO,
chance.
they just had they voted.
All right, we don't need to get into this again, but like,
Yeah, we don't need to get
but,
into it, but-
okay, so he did a good job of like at least,
Like
asking the questions.
Sorkin was asking good questions, and I'm shocked that Sam Bankman-Fried was actually responding. Like in
Why is he not in jail?
Yeah, why is he not in jail?
Great question.
I'm genuinely curious. Like,
It's
what's going
unbelievable.
on.
It's
Somebody
unbelievable.
tweeted that there's a guy in jail in the Bahamas for 6 years for 3 years for stealing $6 worth of hot dogs currently, and Sam is still walking around.
David and Ryan did a live stream on the question, why isn't SBF in jail right now? I caught like a good portion of it, but like
How tinfoil do you want to get?
I don't know. I just feels like the bar of criminality is that needs to be passed for him to at least get arrested or prosecuted is very low.
But like put an over under on how much jail time he's going to serve. Like let me say like 7 years over under.
I'm
Wait,
at this
what was,
point, I don't even
Elizabeth
know if this
Holmes?
guy's going
11.
to jail.
11? I'm
Elizabeth
going
Holmes went
under
What's
under
going on?
11.
Elizabeth Holmes went 11. She got sentenced to 11 years in
Do you think
prison.
there's a poly market on this? I'm gonna check.
Yeah. Because I would take over 7 years.
I'm pretty tinfoily on this whole thing.
Like you don't think he's going to even serve jail time?
I just think there's too much going on that we don't know.
Did you guys see this audio clip? And I feel bad bringing it up because I don't know if it's real or not. But basically, where SBF was on audio saying, "Well, no, we actually donated roughly the same amount to both parties. I just went through dark pools
Dark
and
pools,
PACs
yeah.
through to
Because Republicans are actually
well, no, he's like the media would have had a shit show
Oh,
with it
yeah, I saw that.
if they knew I donated to
Right.
Republican Party. So I just did it through super PACs and whatever.
I don't
I don't
buy
know if
it.
that one is verified,
I
but
don't buy any of it.
I buy that he's smart enough and savvy enough to think that way.
Yeah.
I buy
think
that that's plausible.
he's full of lies. Everything he says is a lie, but
Yeah.
that one thing I actually think he's being honest about
Why did the media whitewash this whole thing?
because he's the biggest donor to the powers that be.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I don't know if that take is tinfoil anymore. I think that's like pretty. He's admitted it. Like he said, like yeah, I had to.
I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, did he literally give money to the Times? Like, he gave money to the politicians. Like,
He gave money to the Independent? Was that the publication that he just
like
randomly
the vast
donated
majority of
to?
money he gave was to like politicians, right? Like actual politicians. But there does seem to be like a wing of the media that
It's effective
wants
altruism if
to-
your goal is to not get sent to prison.
Because you might have a better impact on the rest of the world if you're out of prison.
I don't know. Is it possible they just like feel like he's kind of on their team in a way? Like I kind of agree with some of his stuff, and like there is this sort of general vibe in these circles. I feel like of like it's okay to do the wrong thing. If the ends can justify the means, this sort of stuff. That is like a mentality I think that some of these people have. So maybe they share that. I don't know, but like I agree with Armand that something seems super weird.
With this amount of money involved, I think the whole thing has more red flags than anything I've seen in a long time. Nothing adds up. Every day we uncover something new about the entire scandal, and none of it makes
Shouldn't they
sense.
have enough evidence just in like the bankruptcy filings and like the motions that have been filed by the new CEO of FTX?
If you want to get somebody, you get somebody.
I mean, there's a poly
It's that
market
simple.
on him indicted end of year, and it's 86% no.
What
Could be just
does
a
that mean?
time thing. Like, will he be federally indicted by end of the year?
End of year. I
You can. Is that a betting market?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
not end of year, but
It's just the hypocrisy is very. It's very deflating. Like when
Yeah.
you see the things that people go down for that are nothing compared to this, and this guy destroyed people's lives, and there are probably people that lost literally their lives, and yet, dude walks around and God knows how long it's going to take to even
Does keynote
put a case
presentations.
together. Oh, dude, see that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's like, what's going on here? Like,
Okay, maybe a U.S. prosecutor's like, let's let him do the damn speech and let him incriminate himself.
oh
Like,
my God. Andrew Ross Sorkin read a question from a user who has $2 million locked in FTX right now. And the guy goes like, will I get my money back? And SBF's response was, well, FTX US, we could pay everyone back right now if you didn't kick me out as CEO.
oh my God.
wow.
Well,
What a psychopath.
we did not get to our scheduled topic
No.
today. So were you going to punt
I was
this?
going to ask you guys about that.
Well, I
What
guess we'll just
happened?
punt it to next week.
Next week.
Punches it next week.
All right,
Next
give a
week.
teaser.
Kind of evergreen.
Give a teaser.
We're talking.
Well, speaking of SBF
Yeah. Speaking of centralized exchanges,
going down,
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been a huge increase in volume of decentralized trading, but like especially decentralized perps. So we wanted to dig into that a little bit.
So next time we'll talk about how to use them, but also like the narrative of this, continuing and even growing. They're nice little casinos for people to play with, and people like little casinos. So I don't know. This is a narrative we should explore and
yeah,
figure
and I
out
want to
how
know
make money
which
off of.
ones you guys are all using. If I'm missing any, if they're like
Yeah.
some have like better use cases than others.
And is GMX the next Luna?
Yeah.
Oh,
geez.
People on Twitter are asking. I didn't ask it, but people are asking the question.
Nicely
A
written
lot of people.
headline, sir.
A lot of people asking. A lot of people asking.
About your skincare routine.
Another thing to tease is a lot of people only listen to our money episodes. Well, they are our most popular episodes. Most people listen to all, but the money episodes
Pretty
tend to be
great.
the most popular. But I would say to people that normally don't listen to our life episodes, we have a really cool one this week. We interviewed Dan Martell, and it's very business related. It's about buying back your time. He's an incredible founder,
Yeah.
awesome mentor.
It was a pretty dense episode,
Super
I'd say,
dense.
about 45, 50 minutes.
Yeah,
and
Dan made me feel incredibly useless.
I've never.
Well, Steven
absolute-
spoke 0 words on the episode, so
I've never.
episode,
you
I was just sitting
you
there
were
like-
in fact useless on that one.
you looked exactly like that.
I spoke literally 0
I looked at your
words, but,
face. I was like, I wonder if Steven has something to ask, and you're just like, look deflated that your life was not as optimized.
Yeah, I've
as
never
Stan's.
seen all four of us just
never
like
seen
so fervently take notes
Bigger
on what somebody's
spectrum
saying.
difference. Steven just feeling like, what am I going to do?
I was actually just taking notes the entire
I know.
time. I have
Me
notes
too.
right here.
Yeah, but
It was
anyway,
an
check it
awesome-
out.
It was
Yeah,
a very
it
good
worth it.
episode. So make sure you check out the life episode this week on buying back your time. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Later.
Peace.